The life of Anthony Geary, the actor known for his iconic role as Luke Spencer on General Hospital, is one filled with shocking highs and even more devastating lows. While many may remember him for his unforgettable performances on television, few know the emotional struggles he faced behind the scenes. Despite his fame, wealth, and success, Geary's journey has been anything but glamorous. Beneath the surface of Hollywood fame, he has dealt with personal battles, career frustrations, and a sense of loss that even the brightest lights couldn't erase. His story is a powerful reminder that even those who seem to have it all can face some of the most heartbreaking realities. Geary's rise to stardom was not a smooth one, and the price he paid for his success was much more than anyone could have expected. Anthony Geary's story didn't begin with the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Like many actors, his early life was far from easy. Born and raised in a small town, Geary didn't have the luxury of a showbiz upbringing. His family wasn't wealthy, and his early years were marked by a struggle to fit in and find his place. He was often the outsider, dreaming of a life far removed from his small-town roots. From a young age, Geary felt a pull toward the arts, but the path to success in acting was far from certain. His journey into Hollywood wasn't smooth either. He faced rejection after rejection, and for a long time, it seemed like his big break would never come. Geary spent years working odd jobs and taking small acting roles, struggling to make ends meet. It wasn't until he landed the role of Luke Spencer on General Hospital that his life truly began to change. But even then, his personal struggles didn't end. The transition from an unknown actor to a household name was not without its challenges, and the pressure of succeeding in such a high-profile role started to take its toll. Behind the scenes, Geary was battling his own demons, dealing with feelings of isolation, doubt, and the overwhelming pressure of being constantly in the public eye. His rise to fame brought about a sense of excitement and possibility, but it also came with a heavy emotional cost. Geary was learning that fame could be just as lonely as it was glamorous, and the weight of expectations from fans and the entertainment industry often left him feeling drained and conflicted. Despite these struggles, Geary pushed forward, determined to make a name for himself and prove he belonged in Hollywood. Little did he know, the toughest battles were yet to come. Anthony Geary's breakthrough came when he landed the role of Luke Spencer on General Hospital, a part that would not only define his career but also catapult him into the spotlight. As the charming yet troubled Luke, Geary became a fan favorite, with millions of viewers tuning in daily to see his character's dramatic storylines unfold. The success was undeniable. He won multiple awards, including several Daytime Emmy Awards, and his popularity soared to new heights. Luke Spencer became a symbol of the kind of complex, layered character that audiences loved, and Geary was at the center of it all. But with success came sacrifice. As the show's star, Geary's life became consumed by the demands of his role. The long hours, constant filming, and pressure to stay in the public eye left little room for a personal life. He was often away from his family, friends, and loved ones, caught in the whirlwind of fame that can be both thrilling and exhausting. The role of Luke Spencer became more than just a job. It was a defining part of his identity. But as Geary himself would later admit, the relentless nature of the show took a toll on him mentally and emotionally. Despite the glamorous appearance of being a successful actor, Geary's reality was far more complex. Behind the scenes, the constant grind of maintaining his image and fulfilling the demands of the show weighed heavily on him. As much as he loved acting and the success that came with it, the strain of being constantly in the public eye led to a deep sense of isolation. He found himself struggling with the very thing that had once made him feel alive. His career. Fame had become a double-edged sword, something he had worked so hard for, but also something that left him feeling disconnected from the world around him. In the midst of his rise to fame, Geary also began to face personal challenges that only added to his internal conflict. Relationships with friends and family became strained, and the emotional toll of living under constant scrutiny began to take its toll. It wasn't just the fame, it was the pressure to maintain a perfect image and constantly deliver for an audience that seemed to expect more with each passing day. And through it all, Geary was battling with his own emotions, unsure of how to balance the man he was with the character the world had come to love. As the years went by, the pressure of maintaining his role as Luke Spencer began to weigh heavier on Anthony Geary. While the show's success continued, Geary's personal battles intensified. Fame, which once seemed like a dream come true, slowly turned into something much darker. Despite the accolades and awards, Geary struggled with the toll that working on General Hospital was taking on his mental and emotional health. He had become frustrated with the direction of the character, and the storylines that once felt exciting and fulfilling now seemed repetitive and uninspired. At this point in his life, Geary was facing a dilemma. Many actors encounter the conflict between personal fulfillment and professional success. The love he once had for his character was beginning to fade, overshadowed by a growing sense of dissatisfaction. The role of Luke Spencer, which had brought him so much recognition and success, was no longer bringing him the joy it once did. Geary felt trapped in a cycle of playing the same character year after year, and the constant pressure to deliver the next big storyline began to feel like a weight he could no longer carry. On top of the career struggles, Geary's personal life was also unraveling. The relationships that once gave him support and stability were starting to fray. The long hours spent on set, and the emotional toll of living under the spotlight, created a distance between him and those closest to him. While his fans saw him as a beloved television icon, the man behind the character was feeling increasingly isolated, and his sense of self was beginning to erode. The very thing that had once brought him fulfillment, acting, was now contributing to his unhappiness. As the pressure mounted, Geary realized that something had to change. After years of dedication to General Hospital, he made the difficult decision to leave the show. It was a choice that shocked fans and left many wondering about the reasons behind his departure. For Geary, leaving the show wasn't just about stepping away from a job, it was about reclaiming control over his own life. It was about taking a step back to rediscover who he was beyond the fame and the character he had played for so long. But leaving behind the success and stability of General Hospital was not an easy decision, and the emotional impact of that choice would stay with him for years to come. After leaving General Hospital, Anthony Geary found himself facing an entirely new chapter of life, one that was filled with uncertainty and quiet struggles. While the world expected him to embrace life after fame with ease, the reality was much more complicated. Without the constant demands of filming and the spotlight of television, Geary found himself confronting the emotional and psychological toll that his years in the industry had taken on him. He was no longer a part of the daily hustle of Hollywood, and with that came a sense of isolation he hadn't anticipated. In many ways, Geary felt lost without the role of Luke Spencer. That character had been his identity for so long that without it, he struggled to redefine himself. While many actors dream of stepping away from a long-running show to pursue new opportunities, Geary faced the painful realization that fame was not the solution to his happiness. The truth was, the emotional strain of years spent in the limelight had left him feeling disconnected from his true self. He was no longer the young man who had arrived in Hollywood with big dreams. He was a man grappling with the emotional cost of those dreams. Post-fame life brought with it a sense of loneliness that Geary hadn't fully anticipated. With the curtain closed on General Hospital, the calls from fans slowed, the interviews became less frequent, and the excitement of public recognition began to fade. While many people would envy the privacy that came with no longer being in the spotlight, Geary realized that it came with its own set of challenges. The quietness that replaced the constant buzz of fame allowed his inner struggles to resurface. He found himself reflecting on past decisions and wondering about the relationships he had sacrificed along the way. While Geary has remained mostly out of the public eye in recent years, some of his interviews and rare public appearances have revealed a man who is still trying to reconcile his past with his present. In those moments, it's clear that he is still affected by the emotional toll of his career. The man who once captivated audiences with his charm and wit now speaks candidly about the mental health struggles and the overwhelming sense of isolation he experienced as a result of his fame. His honesty has opened up a deeper understanding of the challenges that many actors face when the cameras stop rolling and the applause fades away. Though Geary's life may not be in the spotlight anymore, his journey continues to serve as a powerful reminder of the price of fame and the lasting impact it can have on a person's mental and emotional well-being. For him, the decision to leave General Hospital was just the beginning of a much more complex journey of healing and self-discovery. As Anthony Geary's life after General Hospital continued to unfold, he found himself reflecting on the emotional cost of his career and the toll fame had taken on him. Despite leaving the show, the scars from his years in the limelight lingered, and Geary was left grappling with feelings of regret and a sense of unfulfilled purpose. For many, walking away from the fame and fortune of a long-running television role might seem like the start of a new adventure, but for Geary it was a bittersweet realization that the emptiness he felt was not something that could be easily filled. Though he was no longer in the public eye, Geary's struggles with mental health and loneliness didn't disappear. In interviews and rare public appearances, he's been open about the emotional toll that years of playing a beloved character had on him. While fans saw the confident and charming Luke Spencer on screen, the man behind the character was dealing with an inner turmoil that he had kept hidden for years. The pressures of constantly being in the spotlight, the isolation that came with it, and the personal sacrifices he had made in the pursuit of fame had left Geary with a deep sense of loss. For much of his life, Geary had poured himself into his work, but in the quiet moments after leaving the show, he began to realize just how much of himself he had given up. The fame that had once seemed like a dream come true now felt like a burden. It wasn't the accolades or the recognition that he longed for, it was peace, happiness, and the ability to reconnect with the people he loved. The legacy of his time on General Hospital was undeniable, but for Geary it was the emotional toll of those years that had left the deepest impact. As Geary moved further away from the public eye, he began to seek a sense of balance in his life. He focused on rebuilding his relationships and finding a sense of peace that had long eluded him. The quiet of life outside of Hollywood gave him the space he needed to reflect, heal, and come to terms with the sacrifices he had made. Yet despite his attempts to heal, the shadows of his past continued to follow him. The legacy of Luke Spencer was always going to be a part of him, but finding peace with that legacy was a long and ongoing process. Geary's journey is a powerful reminder that behind the fame and fortune, there are often unseen struggles that actors and celebrities face. The world may only see the glamorous side of Hollywood, but for many, including Geary, the reality is far more complicated. His story is one of redemption, of coming to terms with past decisions, and of seeking inner peace after years of external success. It's a journey that continues, one that proves even the brightest stars can sometimes feel lost in the darkness. The emotional toll that Anthony Geary experienced throughout his career was not just limited to his professional struggles, it deeply affected his personal life as well. As he continued to process the years spent in the limelight, it became clear that his relationships had suffered as a result. While he had built a career many would envy, the sacrifices he made along the way, especially in terms of family and personal connections, were not something that could easily be repaired. Geary himself has spoken about how fame and the demands of a long-running television show had created distance between him and the people who mattered most. One of the most difficult realities Geary faced was the growing sense of isolation that came with being a public figure. While he had millions of fans, the loneliness he experienced off-screen was something entirely different. The pressure to maintain a public image, coupled with the constant scrutiny from the media and fans, created a barrier between him and those around him. It was a kind of loneliness that even the adoration of millions couldn't fill. As a result, many of the personal relationships he cherished began to deteriorate. His struggles with maintaining a sense of normalcy and connection in his personal life became just as challenging as his emotional battles with fame. Despite the fame and fortune that came with being one of the most recognizable faces in television, Geary's personal life was often overshadowed by the same pressures that had caused him to walk away from the role of Luke Spencer. The constant demand for his time and energy on the set of General Hospital meant that family gatherings, personal milestones, and even simple moments of relaxation were few and far between. Geary later admitted that as his career took off, he became more and more detached from the people he loved. The emotional disconnection that resulted from years of sacrifice and personal compromise left a lasting impact. And so, as Geary stepped away from the public eye, he was left to face the consequences of these strained relationships. Rebuilding those connections would prove to be one of his most challenging endeavors, but it was a necessary one for his emotional well-being. It wasn't just about stepping away from fame, it was about finding a way to restore the balance he had lost in his personal life. The process was slow and difficult, but Geary knew that healing the rift caused by years of neglecting his personal relationships was essential for finding peace in the next phase of his life. Ultimately, Geary's journey serves as a powerful lesson in the dangers of losing oneself in the pursuit of fame and success. The pressures of maintaining a public image, and the sacrifices made in the name of career advancement, can have devastating consequences on an individual's personal happiness and relationships. Geary's story is a testament to the importance of balance, and how, in the end, the things that matter most are often the ones that get left behind in the pursuit of external recognition.